Hello, everyone. Welcome to our annual award ceremony. I believe this is the 37th DC days. I don't know how many. Thanks to Boss Boys and Poets for hosting us. Thanks. They hosted Tim on Sunday. Now we're here. They hosted us for the past couple years as well for our award ceremony. So always grateful to them and to this beautiful location. Much closer than the one last year. Thanks to the folks joining us on the live stream. Thanks to Ellen for setting it up. Hi Ellen, hi everyone. We can't hear you. For the first award, I'll pass it over to Scott Young. Introduce our award.
All right, so I wanted to start by bringing up an old adage that we all probably know. So if a tree falls in the forest and there's nobody there, does it really make a sound? And we don't know the answer to that. But I thought about an adage that could be similar for ANA. If an EIS is published, but there's nobody there to read it, will the environment be protected? Will democracy be served? And I think we do know the answer. The answer is no. Luckily, ANA is there to read environmental impact statements from an essay. And sometimes I wonder if we didn't, if anyone would. Not only do we read them, we activate our members and our communities to understand them by digesting them and giving them talking points, letting them know about public hearings, and getting them to the public hearings, getting them to comment, and getting them pissed off when they read what the NNSA is doing. And when we read the NEPA documents for plutonium pit production, which were being improperly segmented into site-specific NEPA documents, and the NNSA was not going to analyze any alternative to its two-site plan to do plutonium pit production at Savannah River site and Los Alamos, nor did they respond to our comments that they needed to do that. We realized that we had a NEPA violation on our hands, and we needed the help of a brave, savvy, and very smart legal team who was willing to take our case to court. And not just take our case to court, but to take it on a contingency, which means to do it for free. And in 2021, the South Carolina Environmental Law Project was approached by Tom Clements at Savannah River Sidewatch, and for Tom, and they agreed to do just that. The South Carolina Environmental Law Project is committed to protecting the environment in South Carolina. And they take lots of cases to do just that. And they also make a big effort to protect the Savannah River, which runs right next to the Savannah River site. And they realize right away that plutonium pit production at Savannah River posed a threat to this majestic river, Savannah River site. Yeah. And truly against all odds, and during a 3-year process, they were able to convince a district court judge in South Carolina, not the easiest district court to convince a judge on an environmental case. However, they were able to convince her that the plaintiffs, Nuclear Watch New Mexico, Savannah River Sidewatch, the Gula Geechee Sea Island Coalition, and Tri-Valley Cares had standing to bring the case, first major hurdle, and that there was in fact a breach of the National Environmental Policy Act. Thanks to the work of Scalp's brilliant legal team, they guided us through a very complex settlement process, and now plutonium pit production has a programmatic environmental impact statement that's being scoped currently. Be sure to send in your comments. Benefit manager, can you comment? And there's going to be a draft process with 5 public hearings around the country. They did not have to do that pursuant to the law. We, with our lawyers' help, got those 5 public hearings to happen. That's a big deal. And hopefully we'll get a true analysis of potential alternatives to building plutonium pits in Savannah River. So today I have with me here Amy Armstrong. Amy is the executive director of the South Carolina Environmental Law Project. Amy started at SCELP in 2002 with a fellowship and was staff attorney there, one of the staff attorneys for 8 years, and has been executive director since 2010. So Amy, I get to present you with this award from the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability to the South Carolina Environmental Law Project for their commitment to the protection of the Savannah River watershed, willingness to take on a difficult case against the federal government with some sometimes difficult plaintiffs. And successful application, don't say that, I added that. And successful application of shrewd legal strategy resulting in a major victory, challenging the new US plutonium pit production plans. So Amy, it's my honor to give this to you. Thank you so much.
Hold that.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, Scott. The South Carolina Environmental Law Project, or YELP, probably not a name many of you have ever heard before. This lawsuit that we filed on behalf of the three groups. Well, I'm gonna use some acronyms tonight because I think y'all all know what they mean. Because I want to keep time limits, and some of the words are pretty long. So it's fair that y'all may not have heard of SCELP, but I hope that what you see after this evening's award is that a small but mighty team can really make a big difference when it comes to preventing the greater public good against harmful and wasteful projects. There's a lot of ways to the federal government, but not where Elon's been looking for it. SCELP was founded in 1987 as a project to combat the most alarming environmental threats in South Carolina, to protect our land, water, and communities, and to ensure sound science-based decision-making in and out of court. SCELP operates as a nonprofit law organization. That's why we can take these pro bono cases, and we use our legal expertise to hold governments and private sectors accountable. How do we do it? We have a team of 10 attorneys and 7 support staff across the state that provide free legal services when community groups and environmental organizations, when legal advice and representation is needed to level the playing field against powerful development interests, polluting industries, and rogue government agencies. We advocated public hearings and comment hearings before all levels of government. We intervene in court proceedings and advocate for the most protective interpretation of our environmental laws. We draft legal documents arguing for cleaning up toxic waste sites and stopping the influx of landfills and mines. When state and federal agencies issue harmful and polluting permits, we challenge those permits in court. In short, we provide the full spectrum of legal advice. Oh, you weren't hearing me before, were you? Okay. So we provide. Our vision is a place where our land, water, and communities are protected, where laws and policies prioritize the natural systems that sustain life. And we are driven to fulfill that gap between our vision and the reality that we're facing every day. And we've been successful. We've won dozens of high impact and precedent-setting cases. So when Tom Clements, the founder of SRS Watch and a longtime SCELP donor and friend, reached out about the possibility of challenging DOE and NNSA's failure to conduct the PIS in connection with the significant expansion of plutonium production, that got our attention. The nonprofit groups Nuclear Watch New Mexico, SRS Watch, and Tri-Valley Cares had previously submitted a number of formal comments and information related to the environmental and public health risks associated with the pit expansion, plan, which was launched under the 2018 under the first Trump administration. And that plan proposed producing at least 80 pits a year, 30 at the existing Los Alamos site, and then 50 at SRS. Of course, many of you know this, but at Los Alamos, the production has been plagued by a long history of safety issues. At Savannah River site, which has never produced plutonium pits, DOE is wanting to convert a failed mixed oxide fuel fabrication facility into a pit factory in the midst of really a magnet of fraud for that failed facility. The three organizations' documents were consolidated and resubmitted with some hope that DOE and NNSA's review of the project would return to some normalcy under the Biden administration. But those hopes were pretty quickly dashed in 2021 when NNSA announced that it had no plans to review its pit production. It relied instead on supplemental analysis and outdated PEIS completed more than a decade ago, along with a separate standalone review that Scott referenced. And you all doing this work must not be surprised because the scope and power of the military-industrial complex that is perpetuating such unnecessary, wasteful, and harmful projects is something that you see every day. From our legal team's initial discussions with the three nuclear watchdog groups, it became evident that we had tremendous knowledge and expertise readily available to us. Tom Clemens, Jake Hoagland, with Nuclear Watch New Mexico, of course, Marilee Kelly and Scott Young with Tri-Valley Cares and their staff were intimately familiar with vast volumes of information related to the pit production. And that's really what made the decision to represent them that much easier. We embarked on the litigation with full awareness of an uphill battle, and we shared that with the clients that we would face these kinds of challenge, a really hard time because of the types of claims against these particular agencies about this particular project. But the Scalp lawyers we're driven, we're unrelenting, and we're fiercely passionate, and are already up, and we're up for the challenge. The kind of David versus Goliath battle that this case posed is exactly what invigorates us and why we even exist. Yeah, I can't personally take any credit for the stellar legal work that was done by our top attorneys, Ben Cunningham and Leslie Lenhart. Yes, they deserve major applause. But I'm not the parent of young children, so you got me instead. I do, however, hope that I can relay a glimpse into the tremendous effort that it took to prevail in this case. The legal action obviously was prompted by the agency's failure to take a hard look required by the National Environmental Policy Act at their plans to more than quadruple pit production. Producing pits at one place is significantly different from producing pits at two places, with two places generating more waste and needing to transport that waste from different places to the only storage facility in the county located in New Mexico. And these activities were quite different from the 2008 CT Supplemental Programmatic EIS, which purported to analyze alternatives for transforming the nuclear weapons complex into a smaller, more efficient enterprise. So the 2008 CT SPEIS also sought to consolidate nuclear material at fewer sites to reduce the risks and safeguard costs. Needless to say, what was proposed was a drastic departure from the 2008 plans. So that led us in 2001 to file a complaint in federal district court in Aiken County, South Carolina. We alleged that the agency's piecemeal post hoc evaluation of this huge programmatic shift was arbitrary and capricious, violated the Administrative Procedures Act and NEPA. We also allege that the environmental impacts of the significantly altered pit production plan, including the environmental justice implications for the many underserved communities that are located near these facilities, violated NEPA. The Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition joined in the lawsuit for this very reason, that the members of the Gullah Geechee Nation who live in South Carolina and depend on its natural resources would be impacted by this production. NNSA had conducted NEPA reviews only for the specific portion of the larger connected plan of pit production and did not evaluate on a programmatic level critical issues such as the impacts on all DOE sites involved in pit production, the storage capacity for disposal of the wastes, and of course, the new information that casts significant doubt on the feasibility of the plan. And of course, the public was never even afforded the opportunity to comment or to propose alternatives to site locations. All this in addition to the astronomical costs associated with this project. The production of spits at SRS would require the complete overhaul of the failed MOX facility, where over $7 billion was wasted. In February 2020, cost estimates of $4.6 billion for the SRS alone had skyrocketed to $11.1 billion by May 2021. Clearly, none of those cost overruns were ever considered back in 2008 when the CTSPEIS was initiated. Of course, that allowed the federal government to evade telling American taxpayers why it was going to spend more than $50 billion to build new plutonium pit bomb cores for new design nuclear weapons when we already have thousands of existing pits proven to be reliable for a century or more. So shortly after we filed the complaint, Scott mentioned the motion to dismiss based on lack of standing, but that means that we had to prove that there was going to be some harm to the plaintiffs proposed by the proposed action. And in February 2023, Judge Lewis swiftly denied that the motion, rejecting the argument, saying that the plaintiffs didn't have standing, saying it was not a close call. So at that point, Ben and Leslie really had to get to work researching and reviewing voluminous documents together with our clients to determine whether all relevant and necessary documents were part of the administrative record. The administrative record consists of over 200,000 documents, and without the knowledge and expertise of our clients, it would have been an insurmountable challenge to review all of those and make sense of them to be able to conduct the legal briefing. Despite the vast number of documents, we were still forced to file motions before the court to get certain documents included that they had actually left out. And ultimately, we were able to secure the conclusion of those documents. It's most essential to the case. Of course, after that administrative record was complete, the team got to work researching and drafting our legal briefs, which is one of the most consequential and time-consuming aspects of the legal work that SCELP does. Briefing was completed just a year ago, and the parties participated in 2 mediations, both of which were not successful, but were our clients were instrumental in navigating those mediations. On September 30th, 2024, without hearing any oral arguments, Judge Mary Geiger Lewis issued her order ruling in our favor on the key issue. The court ruled that DOE and NNSA violated NEPA, failing to properly consider alternatives for proceeding to The court found that the plan's purpose had fundamentally changed from NNSA's earlier analysis, which had not considered simultaneous pit production at 2 sites, and that those changes necessitated a reevaluation of alternatives, including site alternatives, which defendants failed to undertake prior to moving forward with spending tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. As a result of the ruling, defendants are now required to newly assess pit production at a nationwide programmatic level which will mean undertaking a thorough analysis of the impacts of production at DOE sites throughout the US, including waste generation and disposal. Under NEPA, this provides the opportunity for public scrutiny of and formal comment on the assessments, this is a significant victory that will ensure NEPA's goal of public participation is satisfied. And that public scrutiny is especially important because the activities at issue here, by their very nature, result in production of dangerous weapons and extensive amount of toxic and radioactive waste. So such scrutiny and formal comment under NEPA have proven time and time again to improve public safety and to save taxpayer money. We hope that you all will join in that public comment process during the scoping period. Comments are due July 14th. As this new process lays out, we're hopeful that it will result in alternative proposals that are more protective of the environment and affected communities around these sites. And most of all, we are honored and humbled not only by this award, but to have been able to work alongside such impactful groups, working every day to protect our communities and our country from the really drastic threats of nuclear proliferation. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Carlos?
There's much more program to come. Carlos will guide us through the next step.
Okay, thank you, Amy, for all your tireless work and for all of the work that's got done. I'll bring up Jay Cogley now to introduce. Next,
Hey, as you know, I'm Jay Cotley with New Collection, New Mexico. The first thing I want to do is reiterate just how awesome the South Carolina Environmental Law Project was. It's absolutely stellar. You know, I've hung out a lot with lawyers, and I'm not in the habit of denigrating lawyers. But they were the easiest lawyers I've ever worked with. You know, easy in a good way. We were truly a team, and it just worked so well. And you have my deep gratitude, Amy. Really, as a reminder, scoping comments on this programmatic environmental impact statement, they're due July the 14th, and in roughly a year, the draft will come out. 5 hearings across the country. And now, I'd like to drag up Joyce Connery, please. When I tried to embarrass Joyce at the DC training day by stating she's one of my heroes, and she is. I didn't get her to blush, so I'm going to try again. And it's been funny. I've been in 2 meetings, 2 congressional meetings with her, and I know some of y'all have been in the meetings as well. And it really, Joyce, just a tremendous asset to have you there. And Joyce will introduce herself by going, "Yeah, I was on the safety board," and I'm going, "Joyce, you were chairwoman of the safety board," you know, so she's way too modest about it. I assume everybody here has some basic knowledge about the safety board. So I'll just kind of cut to the quick. Without the safety board, we would not know about the nuclear safety issues that are so prevalent across the weapons complex. And you know, I've been in this business 30 years, and I can remember, I'm going to say, a half dozen attempts by the executive branch and also various, in particular, the House Armed Services Strategic Committee, to basically cripple the safety board one way or another. So for the last 10 years, Joyce has worked to ensure not only the continuing survival of the safety board, but to keep it hard-hitting and effective. And I will repeat, without the safety board, without Joyce, we would not know how prevalent the nuclear safety issues are across the complex. So here is a dedicated civil servant who has worked assiduously to improve public safety. And getting to the award itself, it says to Joyce Connery, former chairwoman, to say that, Joyce, former chairwoman, Defense Nuclear Facilities Safety Board, for her longtime leadership of the Defense Nuclear Facilities Safety Board and tireless advocacy for improving public and worker safety in the Department of Energy's nuclear weapons complex. And I look forward to some keen insights from you for, say, 5 minutes, please.
So typical Jay, right? I couldn't find my way into the building on Sunday and I was like, I don't know how to get in. He's like, it's obvious. And I'm like, it's obvious. Like, that's a standard answer. So when he was giving me, told me that he was going to present me the award, he didn't say, I will give you a microphone for 5 minutes. But luckily, I've never met a microphone I didn't like. So I'm okay with that. Listen, I want to thank you so much for this. It means a lot to me. And I'll tell you a little story. A friend of mine who's worked in the administration for a long time in various positions. She was always a political. And I told her that you all were presenting me with this award, and she got tears in her eyes. She said, "They've only ever sent me nasty letters." So I intend to take a picture with this and send it to her to let her know. She worked on Tony dispositions there. But honestly, I am an accidental. This wasn't the career that I had anticipated. I kind of fell into it, and my first assignment was actually overseas in Kazakhstan, working on issues of nuclear non-proliferation. And so I saw the test site in Kazakhstan before I went to the test site in Nevada. And we have common cause with people all over the world. But I fell in love with the issue, and I have been a proponent of meeting people where they are and understanding what everybody's viewpoints are. So when I was at the safety board, I met with a lot of you on the sidelines. When I would go to Los Alamos, when I would go to Hanford, we wanted to meet with the groups that lived in the area because you all have opinions and thoughts and impacts from the site, and we thought that was crucially important. But I also think it's important to make sure that people of different views get together and have these conversations. And I think what you guys did today is super important. You went to, like, who thought that you'd have common cause with Josh Harley on anything, right? But you did. And I think that when you find common cause with somebody, you can move mountains. You're never going to agree with them on anything. I don't agree with any politician on anything 100%. And I never intend to expect to unless I'm the politician. Because you're always going to have differences in your viewpoints. But what's important is to respect the viewpoint, to understand what's going on, and to raise your voice when you think that something is amiss, and to mitigate the risks that are out there for good outcomes. And I think that what you all do day to day does that. So I have to talk to you for everything that you do and for continuing to engage with the administration. You don't always have to like what they say, but engagement is super, super important. They have a job to do too. And I just want to make this pitch for my friends in the civil service. Bureaucrats have been beaten down for years, right? Bureaucrat becomes a very dirty word, much like, lawyers used to be a dirty word. Bureaucrats have become the latest dirty word, and lawyers are kind of, and your stock's going up this administration. But the civil service, like, just full of dedicated, hardworking people. Nobody's out thinking about how they can. Well, most people aren't out to think about how they can swindle or embezzle. We don't make a lot of money, but we're committed to the causes that we have. So just when you're out and about and doing your work and engaging with those folks, just understand that they have families in the area too. They care about the environment, they care about the water, they care about the kids' education, they care about a lot of the same things that you do. They might be coming at it from a different person, from a different angle, right? When I started working in this area in the late '90s, it was a very different environment. I was going to the Soviet Union for Russia on every several months to work on their nuclear security. I'm probably persona non grata there right now. I don't know that I would ever be able to get back, but it's a changing atmosphere. So you have to understand what's happening, inform yourself, understand what your motivations are, and then get to the heart of the matter of the things that you care about. And make sure that you write public comment on NEPA issues, come to board hearings if you have the chance to. We have a place where you can submit concerns that you have on the website, www.bnfsb.gov. So there are places that you can raise issues there. And when the White House puts out an EO, or there is something that's in the public domain that you guys can comment on, right now they're working on how civil servants are going to look in the future. Make comments on that too, because that also affects you on a day-to-day basis. So you guys are the activists, you're on the ground. I appreciate everything that you do, and I'm so pleased that you all recognize me. I didn't get the retirement that I wanted or expected. It kind of got doged away. So for me, this is my retirement ceremony. So thank you all.
Thank you to Joyce, and thank you to civil servants everywhere doing the hard work without too much recognition, but we're happy to have Joyce here. We were happy to have her at the training, and she's a wonderful voice to have right on board. The next awardee unfortunately could not make it tonight. She was pretty busy, being a congresswoman and all, but we'll have Tim and Wallace introduce her and accept the award on her behalf.
I'm not Eleanor Holmes Nordson, and I'm not Ellen Thomas. I was supposed to be representing Ellen, who couldn't be here, to give the award to Eleanor Holmes Nordson. But just to say very briefly, I think you all know Ellen Thomas and the long history right here in DC of people that have been standing up against nuclear weapons and passed citizens referendum or whatever it was, initiative back in the early 90s, I believe, maybe even late 80s, that said, Washington DC does not want nuclear weapons, and they want their delegates to Congress to do something about it. So Eleanor Holmes Norton, since she was elected in, I think, 1991, has been very faithfully and courageously putting this bill in every single session of Congress since then. So over 33 years, I believe. And as you all know, she can put a resolution in. She can't even vote on her own resolution because DC doesn't have representation in Congress. And that's why she's not here tonight, because she's fighting to protect DC residents from the onslaught from the Trump administration right now. There's bills to cut back on what DC can do. And so she's busy fighting that. But she is committed, and has been for all these years, on the cause of nuclear abolition. And her bill, just to remind everybody, back in 1993, she put a bill in saying the US has got to get rid of its nuclear weapons. We're committed to that, as you all know, through the Non-Proliferation Treaty since 1968. And we're still, nobody's willing to say that, except Eleanor Holmes Norton. She's been saying it over and over again, year after year. We have to get rid of these weapons. Never mind about all the arms control and the treaties and everything else. We have to work to eliminate these weapons from the planet. So she's been committed to that since the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons was adopted in 2017. Her bill has said, sign this treaty, work with the other countries, ratify it, eliminate the weapons, and put all that wasted resources into both human and financial, into climate and other pressing human needs. So we stand with Eleanor, thank her very much for her commitment and her courage in putting that message out there.
Now I'll introduce Diane DeRigo, to have her come up and introduce the Judy Jones Group Unsung Hero Award.
Hi, I'm Diane DeRigo from Nuclear Information and Resource Service, and very excited to award the 2025 Dr. Judith Johnsruth Unsung Anti-Nuclear Hero Award to Molly Johnson. Was with Mothers for Peace, and for her decades of activism and building a movement, building the confidence and capacity of her colleagues, building unity between people from very different worlds and walks of life. Her role in stopping the proposed Ward Valley nuclear waste dump in California on sacred land to 5 nations has to be the jewel in the crown of her cap of her many activities. This so-called low-level nuclear dump, and I can't say it without saying low level is not low risk, low level is a lie. And the only thing low level about nuclear dumps is the tactics they use to get them in place. So Molly camped out on ground zero at Ward Valley. Yeah, come on up, Molly. Molly camped out on the desert in her tent for 3 months at Ward Valley. And after that time, this is the land that is sacred to the 5 tribes of the Colorado, the Pocatello, the Coshon, the Chemehuevi, the Fort Mojave, and the Colorado River Indian tribes. They inducted her to work in their office, along with some of the environmental groups, Ban Waste, where you can correct me on any of this when you're done. I knew Molly from afar, from DC. I'm working on this fight, going to the Interior Department. Molly was on the ground with the people who would be most impacted, and worked with people who were fighting Yucca Mountain and the Nevada test site and all the battles, the Western Shoshone, the Choctaw people, and helped to bind together people who were very technical. Those of us were going after the National Academy of Sciences, and the people were in the ground that just wanted to protect the tortoise. This is sacred, it's endangered tortoise habitat. So after more than 10 years, this dump got stopped. This dump was one that the nuclear power industry in the United States and around the world assumed was a fait accompli, that they needed. They were chomping at the bit. The 6 existing so-called low-level dumps in the country, all leaking, and they needed a new dump. And so the sites were set on Ward Valley and Sierra Blanca in Texas, both of which got defeated, and Molly combined those fights. So she's been with the Mothers for Peace, working close to stop the 2 Diablo Canyon nuclear power reactors. They were supposed to close this year and last year, but there's been some finagling going on and they did not stop yet. They will. And when I called around to our friends to make sure I didn't miss anything about Molly that needed to be publicized. The Mothers for Peace insisted that they write her statement. And so I have a short statement that the Mothers for Peace wrote that is in praise of Molly Johnson. What will it take to achieve a nuclear free carbon-free world? Determination, dedication, perseverance, and smarts. For a start, Molly has been bringing these qualities and a whole lot more to the fight for decades. Molly embodies the spirit of both Mothers for Peace, ANA, and NEARS, a fierce warrior who gives her all to protect her children, all life on Earth, and future of this planet we call home. She does it with grace and humor and undying dedication. And like her handle, Mojo, she never fails to impress with magic and power. Whether occupying Ward Valley, lobbying in Congress, the swamp, with ANA or NEARS, or representing San Luis Obispo Mothers for Peace, Molly is all in. She's an integral part of Mothers for Peace and has been for many years, serves as our meeting facilitator, board member, researcher, and internet problem solver. She takes on unique roles, for example, scooping 5 gallons of water from the exact same spot in the Pacific Ocean every few months to send to Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute to find out how much Fukushima radioactive contamination is crossing from Japan to the shores of California. In recent years, she has enlisted the help of her ever-supportive spouse, Rick, and her great-granddaughter, Skylar, now 6 years old and a budding activist in her own right.
Almost 10.
I'll need some corrections. But I do know one of the adventures that you go on with Skylar is to look for trolls. Yeah, have been built around the world, and so she's got all kinds of adventures that my grandmother never took me on, or great grandmother. Molly doesn't kowtow to any person, any organization, any government. Speaking truth to power and kicking butt when needed are in her DNA. When you need a friend to support you during tough times, Molly is there. If you get discouraged, Molly will offer inspiration. Molly is our joy keeper. Her brave heart has acted as a beacon to help each of us reach deeper into our own bravery, our own energy, and our own love for this world. Thank you, Molly, for your hard work, your cheerful, positive, infectious dedication to slay the nuclear beast.
Okay. It's very rare that you find me speechless. This is one of those times. Thank you for having Diane present this. So Diane and I met, she came out to Ward Valley. It wasn't always a long distance relationship. So I've known her since '97, I think was the first time that you came out for. Yeah, about the same time I met Ian. Because we at the Ward Valley Coalition supported very heartily Shundahai. You saw Corbin Hardy last night on that video, and we supported each other a lot. We went to their gatherings, they came to our gatherings. Ward Valley was a victory. Sierra Blanca also. We always did, thank you for including that. Those were two fights that were going on at the same time. And they were very similar. Quote unquote, blow up a radioactive waste, put it on some brown people's land. And we both won. And we did that because we did work together. We sent a whole a whole 2 busloads of elders from the 5 Colorado River Indian tribes to Texas, to Sierra Blanca, and across the river, where they connected with the elders of the indigenous people of that area. They came to Ward Valley to support us. The Totonacaza came up from Mexico to support us. It's community building. And here's where, you know what, every single one of you out there deserves this. Every one of you. And you are what keeps me going, okay? You all are what keeps me going. I've had my periods of time when it was like, I'm done with this shit. But then I stopped. And I think, A, there will never be enough radioactive waste dump in Ward Valley. I think of y'all. We're all doing the hard work. And we all support each other. And in my 73 years, I have never felt the kind of closeness and heart that I feel for y'all. Some more than others, just because I know them longer, but that's what keeps me going. I know you all are out there. And I tell this to people all the time, you know, because people don't think anybody's doing anything about nukes, right? They don't understand. And I tell them, oh, yeah, there are. Yeah, there are. There's some really amazing people out there. And you guys are it too.
And winning.
And winning. Winning's great. God. I don't know. But thank you so much for this. I don't know if y'all know, but I've been fighting cancer since March of 23. I'm in my last month now of taking an oral chemotherapy drug, etc. I was not going to come this year. I was not, because of that. My stamina is not great. I can't do 3 or 4 meetings a day. I have a hell of a time just walking from headquarters over to the building, right? But when Kevin got a hold of me and told me about this, after I picked myself up on the floor, we had arranged I was going to do a video acceptance speech or something. Okay, fine. But about a week and a half after that, I'm actually driving down to see my oncologist. And I said, yeah, screw that. I cannot not go. So here I am. Thank you all. I just love y'all, and I love all that you do, and I appreciate all you do. And I will keep telling everybody, everywhere, what you all do and who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly, for all your hard work, and F, can't see the. And now for our final award of the night. I'll bring up Denise Duffield to introduce the Bill Mitchell Surprise Grassroots Activist of the Year Award.
Hey, it's a secret. The recipient of this year's Bill Mitchell Grassroots Activist Award is someone who has a deep commitment to nuclear abolition, environmental justice, and the importance of centering frontline communities in policy advocacy. This person has expressed this commitment by serving on ANA's DC Days Committee, helping in particular with outreach to youth and newcomers. This person leads with humility, kindness, compassion, wit, and warmth. This person is consistently reliable and be counted on always. This person projects calm and confidence under pressure and in the face of conflict, which is greatly appreciated by this person's colleagues, especially those who are not able to do that very well. This person is really, really smart, compassionate, and true. All of these qualities make this person the perfect person to receive an award named after ANA's founder, Bill Mitchell. And this person, of course, is none other than Alex Jassett. I first met Alex in 2019, back when he had short hair. He had interviewed for another position and staff thought since he had some background in opposing nuclear energy, he might be a good fit for our nuclear threats program. He was a great fit, but we didn't have enough money at the time. Still, I met with him and I explained that I'd let him know when we were ready to hire. Some time went by, he sent me an email to follow up, we weren't ready. He wrote again a bit later, we weren't ready. He wrote again, I'm not sure how many times, but I'm so very happy that he kept at it. Alex joined PSRLA in March 2019 as our first nuclear threats associate, the first person other than me working on nuclear threats at PSRLA since 2004. I was so excited to introduce him to ANA and DC Days in that spring because I knew he'd be a great fit here. Afterwards, he wrote an article for our newsletter about the experience, describing being initially overwhelmed. He wrote, however, my anxieties faded quickly after the first day of training, where ANA leaders broke down the key issues and made sure that everyone had a basic understanding of them, even if they weren't directly related to specific site challenges back at home. As the week progressed, I realized that this was one of the most important strengths of ANA. Everyone's an expert on something, but no one needs to be an expert on everything. And this chorus of voices, speaking on the issues that are most important to each of our communities, has a collective strength that is greater than the sum of its parts. Alex also has a critical role in helping develop and grow the Back from the Brink campaign and supporting PSRLA's SSFL cleanup efforts. Alex is now the director of PSRLA's Energy Justice Program, helping lead the fight for clean and affordable energy in Los Angeles, California, and beyond. Under his leadership, that program has grown too, and will be soon adding another team member. Speaking of adding team members, in 2003, Maylene Hughes joined our PSRLA team, and now we are a team of 3. And I was really excited for Maylene to come to NADC Days as I was for Alex. I'm so grateful for you, Alex, and Maylene is too, and she will say a few words.
Hello, everyone. This is my second year at DC Days. As you know, some of you may know, I'm fairly new to this space. I just joined PSRLA 2 years ago. I graduated from Occidental College in 23. So literally like right after college, I joined this space. And so when I heard that Alex was going to get this award, I was very excited and couldn't think of a better person to get in. And that's because I've known Alex since I joined the board, honestly, before I joined the board, because he was on the hiring committee. And for me, Alex has always been a breath of fresh air within PSRLA. I was very nervous my last year coming to DC Days, but I always felt calm knowing that I had Denise and Alex to guide me through. Denise went on sabbatical earlier last year or this year, I forget. The time moves really fast, and so it was just me and Alex, and Alex has always been somebody that I could go to whenever I had questions, whenever I had problems, and he just made the space so much more welcoming and someplace that I actually grew to learn to love and be very passionate about this issue, because before 2 years ago, I didn't know anything about nuclear weapons. But because of the space that Alex and Denise cultivated at PSRLA, this has become an issue that I'm very passionate about, and I'm constantly talking to my friends and family members about. And I can't give enough praise to Alex for making this space so welcoming for me, especially in Los Angeles at PSRLA. I was super grateful for him and his spirit, because without him, I probably would be very scared and would still be very nervous, but I feel very comfortable, and that's because of the person he is, so. Thank you.
You put your shirt in there, Mark?
Yes, pictures.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Yikes, I would have left my suit on if I knew I was getting on. So, first off, thank you, yeah, I like me better this one too. Not meant for DC, but just first off, I'd like to thank Denise for being such an incredible mentor for the past 6 years that I've been at PSRLA. I've learned so much from you, and you've just always been such a supportive boss and friend and comrade in all the work that we do, so tons of appreciation for you. I went to my first nuclear meeting about 15 years ago, and actually many of you were there. It was at the University of Chicago. And I felt like such an idiot. I was like, my first week on the job, I had no idea what I was talking about. Everyone was brilliant, and I just tried to absorb as much as I could. I asked tons of stupid questions, and everybody was super, super supportive. And so I try to carry that legacy on as best as I can. Just because you all inspire me so much, and this space has been one of my favorite, if not my favorite place to be every time I get to be with you all. I wish I could dedicate more of my time to this space, because it is such a joy to be with you, and I learn so much every single time that I'm with you. I still feel like an idiot all the time around you, and that's okay, because as Denise mentioned, we don't all need to know everything. So I appreciate everything that I've learned from everyone here. I really appreciate the award, and great job to the DC Days Committee for keeping this a secret. I didn't realize until I was pulling up here, I was like, I don't know who's winning this award today. And normally as a committee, we all talk about it, so I should have been on the ball. Anyway, yeah, just want to really appreciate ANA for being such a great space, the DC Days Committee for thinking of me and honoring me tonight. I don't feel like I deserve it at all, and like Molly said, everyone in this room deserves this award. So thank you all. I hope to stick around and see you all win this award in the years to come. So.
That was the best part of planning this whole event, was keeping this a secret. But thank you everyone for coming. That concludes the awards program. We have about 10 minutes left in this space. We get kicked out at 7:30. Thanks to everyone on Zoom for attending. Hopefully we'll see you all next year in person or soon. Thanks to Busboys again. I don't know if anyone's in there. Thanks to Busboys again. Feel free to shop around, stick around, get a drink, buy a book. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you.